Okay, so the project is to build this ring, split shank, going into a solid shank, but the whole trick is to make a nice smooth transition between the two. And this is how I would go about it. Turn off that. So here are the initial curves. And let's build some surfaces. Choose green and go to Surface, Curve Network. Select the curves and enter. And OK. Just going to change this to shaded view. And we'll do it one more time. I'm using the right mouse click for enter and for repeat a command as well. So once again, curve network, select the curves, and enter. And when this box comes up, this value 0.0001 is quite fine, but it works well. And if I remember correctly, in version 7.5, and I think in version 7 as well, this does not default to this low setting. It's a higher setting. I forget exactly what it is, but what I found with that higher setting or coarser setting is that oftentimes I could not join the surfaces together, and it was just a matter of making these edge curves a bit finer. So I always use 0.0001, and in Matrix 8, which is what I'm running, it does default to this. In 7.5, I think you have to change it each time you reopen the program. And also you'll find this information up in the command line. It doesn't pop up in a box like this. So press OK. And we can join these two together. Join. And then we can run curve network on the split shank part of this. So curve network once again. Select the curves and hit enter. And enter again for yes. And one more time. Curve network. And enter again. And it doesn't matter what order you choose these curves for curve network. We can join this surface together, join, and mirror to the other side. Right click. And there's the basic structure. One other thing I wanted to just talk about is, let's turn this off for just a second. And that's the difference between curve network and sweep to, because you can also sweep to this. To do that, let's just quickly, we're going to take this curve, and we're going to split it with this curve and enter, right click again, and let's do a sweep to. So under surface again, sweep to, select your curves and hit enter, and maintain. I usually use maintain height on this preview, and OK. And let's do it. This we can just mirror. They're the same. And join. Now, the difference between the two, and you can see it here, the lighter green is the sweep, and what happens a lot of times is, turn this off for 1 second, is that with sweep 2, you get it kind of comes in a little bit here. So you get a little bit of a hollow almost, and it goes sort of all the way around the whatever surfaces you're working on. Whereas with curved network, it keeps it just a little bit puffy, especially right down in here. It's subtle, but it gives it's a nicer shape, I think, for this type of for these type of curves here. And you can see over here as well, it keeps the curved network keeps the surface coming out a little bit. It's a little bit rounder, not quite as flat. So if I toggle this off, this ends up just being comes in just a little bit flat and not quite as rounded here. And that's why I like to use curved network. Let's get rid of that. Delete. Bring these curves back. All right. So now we want to get we need the cutouts in order to make the transition. So to do that, choose red, and I'm going to go to curve and blend from there to this curve here, and that gives us a little blend. You can see right here, and in the through finger, it's following sort of the curve of the shank. This isn't quite deep enough, so I would select this and then go to control points, turn them on, and I would just pull them down just a little bit, selecting these four, just pull them down a bit. I just want a little bit more of a curve here. And take these guys, pull them down just a little bit more. And then right here, I want to 1D scale these in just a bit. And I'm doing that because I want this curve to follow the curve of this shank. I don't want it coming down and then sort of bulging out and then going back in. And that's pretty good in this viewport. Now, because I've pulled it, this is going straight here, and we can move these over just a little bit, just to bend it slightly, just to give it a little bit more flow. It's fine. It doesn't need to be huge. And enter. Okay. Now to get the other curves for the curve network, we can turn green off. I want to point, curve, point on red, right at this intersection right here, right there. That just gives me something to aim at. And then I want to curve and with project on, and with the point O snap on as well. We're going to just make a little tick mark, and we're going to take that curve and we're going to mirror it to the other side, and then we're going to run curve blend again from this one to this one, and we're going to turn control points on, and I want to make this even so that the space between this curve and this curve is about the same. And I'm just playing around with it. And it looks like this is following. It doesn't have to follow these ticks here. They don't matter. I want this curve to follow sort of this top part of the shank. And it looks pretty good. I might pull this down a bit, just a little bit more. And escape to turn the control points off. We don't need these marks anymore. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make a surface with this curve. So under surface, extrude surface, and straight. It only needs to go in one direction. Just as long as we get through this, the surface of the ring, it's fine. We'll bring back green here. Okay, now let me just turn this off for 1 second. This surface does not have to go through both of these points here. And if you want to check that, you can select this surface and this curve and run under curve intersect. And we have an intersect point right there, which we don't need. Just get rid of that for a second. In a previous model, these two curves did not intersect this curve at the same place. And so I needed to make two different cutters. But in this case, they do actually happen to line up. So it makes it easier for me. Bring back the green. We're going to split the shank. So split this guy, enter, this guy, enter. Get rid of what we don't want. Delete that, delete that. Don't need this anymore. Delete that. And then we want under curve, duplicate edge. And we want to duplicate this edge and this edge in the back. And then we'll also duplicate this one too. This guy and this guy. Enter. We don't need this whole curve. I'm going to turn off white and creation just so I don't confuse myself. So this curve and this curve, we're going to join, and then we're going to split it with this curve and this curve. Enter. And this curve we can mirror to the other side. Okay, so that's the setup for our curve network. So we'll run it again, curve network. Select the curves. Not that curve. Select that curve and that curve. Enter. Enter. Put that on green. And that gives us a nice flow through everything. So we can now take the green and join it. And now we've got one open poly surface. And if you want to check to see if you've got any naked edges in there, you can just take this. The easy way to do it is to go to solid and cap planar. And we've got 3 caps resulting in one closed poly surface. And there's your finished ring. That's it.